Welcome back to Be Relieved, where natural remedies and health science meet. I'm your host, Ashley Nicole, health scientist and founder of Be Relieved. Now, in our last episode, we explored how emotional regulation and nervous system safety create unshakable presence. But today, we expand that conversation outward into our relationship with the natural world and how it shapes our biology, our emotions, and our sense of wholeness. So joining me today is Kay Miller, one of our featured speakers for the January 31st online event. It is titled Be Relieved, a fresh start, reconnecting mind, body, and nature. Now, just want to explain a little bit about who Kay Miller is. Kay Miller is the Harmony Coach, trained in mental fitness, holistic health, genetics, human design, and more. A homeschooling mother of 5 and a serial entrepreneur. She helps high performing women restore energy, clarity, and emotional ease by living in rhythm with who they truly are. Her signature approach, the Harmony Principle, began with a single pause, a reset that transformed her own health without going to extremes. Kay is on a mission to create generational health by helping women stop fighting their biology and start flowing into it. Her work empowers clients to shift daily patterns around nourishment, stress, and self perception in ways that ripple into their homes, their relationships, and their children's futures. Women who heal with their parent more intentionally, lead more clearly, and raise more emotionally resilient families. Now, known for her intuitive insight and science backed tools, it helps women reconnect with their natural rhythm and remember that harmony is health. Kay, I am so excited to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me today, Ashley. This is going to be a great conversation.
For sure. I'm definitely happy to have this conversation with you. I know that so many people are disconnected, right? Like from their bodies, their breath, even the earth beneath their feet, and even in their own internal cues. Yet biology shows we are wired to regulate through nature. And I really just want to explore what that really means in this conversation. When you hear reconnecting mind, body, and nature. What does that truly mean beyond it just sounding beautiful?
Well, for me, it really starts with awareness because before you can change or reconnect with anything, you have to realize you're not connected. Noticing
Mm,
how disconnected we really are in our everyday life and how that makes us feel from our bodies and the signals around us, we're just not even tuned in a lot of times. We spend a lot of time indoors. We spend a lot of time in our heads thinking about everything and everybody else and how they're thinking about us and all those kind of things. And under this artificial light, I love that you're in the sunlight
yeah.
and under constant pressure to just stay productive. And over time, we just start to create this gap between how we think we should feel or how we would like to feel and how we actually feel. And reconnecting the mind, body, and nature is about closing that gap. So, really
Mhm.
just paying attention again to what affects our energy, our mood, and our focus, just being able to tune in and find a sense of calm. For everyone that's listening out there, if you could just take a moment right now and just take a deep breath and drop your shoulders. A lot of people are like this all day. We have our shoulders up, we're stressed, we're like in this position where we're just, our body, our whole nervous system is on high alert. And really being able to just take that deep breath. We don't breathe. It's silly
Mhm.
to say, but it's true. We don't breathe properly enough. And to
Yeah.
just tune into our bodies, feel the feels, feel the aches, the pains, or whatever may be going on, feel our breath moving through our body. Feel the soles of your feet. When's the last time you actually felt them, recognize that they were there, what they're touching and
Mhm.
how they're feeling and the sensations? Just all those little things, just actually reconnecting and finding how these different things affect our energy, our mood, our focus, and our sense of calm.
I definitely agree. I think sometimes with reconnecting our mind or our body and nature together in alignment, sometimes, like you mentioned, just being more intentional about choosing the connection. Like sometimes I feel like we disregard the connection because it does reveal. There is some
Mm.
awarenesses that happen, like you said just recently, like you may feel some aches and pains. And with that comes sometimes negative thoughts. Maybe you think about aging. Maybe you think about, oh, I need to work out, haven't worked out. But it's not to make you feel bad. It's for you to be more aware and hopefully make some choices today that will help in, making that better. So I definitely agree with being in alignment with your mind, body, nature, and feeling. I think that's really important. And also the breath. Just recently, my dad, he called me and he was like, I was at the chiropractor and I couldn't really relax, you know? And I was like, well, Dad, did you take a few deep breaths? And I asked him to demonstrate the breaths to me. And it's basically grasping for air, you know, like, and I'm like, Dad,
Yeah.
that's not a deep breath, you know? I had to really go into my science head and I'm like, okay, you know, you got to breathe in through your nose
Mhm.
and you have to breathe out through your mouth, you know, and do it to where you can't do it anymore. So breathe in to a point where you can't breathe in anymore and then release slowly when your breath is out. So I think I
Yeah.
definitely understand firsthand with my own experience and my father's about reconnecting. And I think it's a continuous journey. It doesn't end.
Indeed.
So how has modern living theologically separated us from natural rhythms? And what does that do to our nervous system and our hormones?
Oh, yes. Don't get me started. If it was up to me, we'd all just be outside all day. Like I said earlier, like these bright lights that were under all day, the screen time, the
Mhm.
irregular sleep because we binge watch Netflix. Guilty.
Mm,
Eating at random hours of the day. We don't have any kind of really set breakfast, lunch, and dinner kind of things going on anymore.
yeah.
Very little time outside. And if you are outside, a lot of people are afraid of the sun. So they're covered up in hats and long sleeves and
Mhm,
sunscreen and everything at all hours of the day. And it's like you don't need to do that all day. Your body does need some sunlight. It needs to
mhm,
process things. Just getting outside in the morning and catching the sunrise. I know that's too early for a lot of people, but if you can do it, that's actually, from what I understand, where your body processes melatonin and starts creating that for you so that you can sleep later. So, a lot of people
mhm,
that are having sleep problems, they probably aren't getting enough sunlight to create the melatonin. Then they try to pop the pills, and that's
mhm,
not quite enough either, unfortunately.
mhm,
So yeah, just this disconnect from being. I heard someone say it earlier today. I was watching a video. I don't remember who she was, but she was like, "We are nature," and I
mhm,
think we forget that we are nature.
mhm,
The body does rely on these environmental cues. Like I said, especially the light and the dark. So, catching the sunrise, catching the sunset, getting those cues into your body system daily will drastically change how your body responds to things. Your body needs to know when to be alert and when to rest. And when those cues are blurred, it has a hard time doing the proper things of repairing and recycling and refreshing our brains, our hormones, like you were saying. If our nervous system is constantly in fight or flight, which is where a lot of us are, it doesn't do that repair and, reset process that it's really supposed to and needs to do on a daily basis. So
mhm,
that's where we get out of sync. And I think it's kind of doing a disservice to a lot of ladies right now. Specifically, I work with moms.
yeah,
There's a lot going around about perimenopause. And a lot of the
mhm,
symptoms that they say that are perimenopause, are a lot of symptoms that are also just dysregulation with your environment. And you might not need HRT. You might not need a hormone
mhm,
therapy replacement. You might just need to get to sleep at the right time. You might just
mhm,
need to get the right sunlight in your eyes and things like that. I'm not a doctor, of course,
mhm,
so I cannot prescribe or not prescribe something for you, but I would strongly suggest that you look into what you're doing on a daily basis and how you are interacting with nature. And I talk about it as free healthcare. The five things of free healthcare are proper nourishment, movement, sunlight, and oh geez, I always forget the fifth one. The hydration. No matter which order I say them in, I can say them in a completely different order and I always forget the fifth one. It's so cute. But yeah, hydration, nourishment, that movement, proper light exposure. And then that really helps with how your hormones and everything is processing. You won't have as much trouble sleeping, that feeling wired and tired thing going on. The mood changes, the irritability, that difficulty winding down. Like that
mhm,
is a symptom for so many different ailments that we can
yeah.
pick and choose. And we usually wind up treating the symptoms instead of actually figuring out what's going on with the body and why these signals are getting mixed.
That is so true. We mentioned about hydration, through some of my clients here and there who come to me for health advice, they, have let me know, like, okay, I do drink a lot of water, but I just want to remind everyone that we need H2O, but we also need H3O as well. So we need that jelly like consistency that comes through coconut waters, comes from fruit. Okay. It comes from fruit and certain vegetables as well. But we need to make sure that we're hydrating on both levels. Also, I think it's very interesting that you mentioned about perimenopause as well, because I definitely have seen a spike in that, especially with our products. We had a lot of requests like, "Hey, I need something for perimenopause." And granted, we can definitely provide some solutions that are going to help soothe some of those symptoms, right? But like you said, the root issue. And a lot of times it can be from sunlight, just as simple as that. And a lot of times we realize that a lot of the root issues are simple per se, and it's just the symptoms that got out of hand because it's so dysregulated. So I definitely see that coming up, like a lot of high cases of perimenopause is happening for sure. But
Mhm.
from your experience, how does the body communicate when it's out of alignment with nature?
Mm.
And why do so many people miss those signals? I know you mentioned it earlier about kind of just not being aware, but from your experience.
Yeah, from my experience with myself and with my clients, the body really whispers before it screams. So I had like low energy most of my life. And then at some point, I had like restless leg syndrome, I believe is the title they give you for
Mhm.
that one. And I was like, what is this weird thing? I didn't know what it
Yeah.
was then, of course. I was just like, okay, my body's freaking out. And it didn't happen all the time. So you kind of ignore it and you just push through. Um,
Mhm.
and then I started to have some brain fog, and it's like, "Oh, it's
Mhm.
mom brain. I've got 5 kids. Makes sense, I'm a little foggy." But then after a while, it starts to get worse and worse and worse. But when it's
Mhm.
just at those beginning stages, it's like, I'm tired. Everybody's tired." And we just push
Mhm.
through it and we just assume this is
Mhm.
how we're supposed to be because everybody
Mhm.
is this way. But that's
Yeah.
a myth. Everybody's not
Yes.
tired. Everybody's not brain
Mhm.
fogged. Those are symptoms and you shouldn't ignore them. You shouldn't push through. We should encourage people to want to live in good health. And that's another thing that people talk about a lot of times. Oh, we're all going to die someday anyways, and I'm just going to live life and enjoy it. And it's like, it's not about death. We all expect
Mhm.
that. It's about the suffering between now and death. So if you
Mhm.
want to prevent the suffering, which I would hope
Mhm.
you do, and your family having to watch you suffer and all of those, then you want to listen to those first signals, those first little
Mhm.
communication signs when something's out of whack. If you don't feel good, there's a reason you don't feel good. Don't assume that it's just the way you're supposed to be because we're human. Because I hate that we've been trained to believe that and to just push through, and tiredness is a badge of honor
Mhm.
and all of these other things. So, yeah, over time, it just gets worse and worse. But in the
Yeah.
beginning, those signals are easy to ignore because we've been trained to.
Yeah, that's really true. I know earlier you mentioned about us being nature. I think that's a very important nugget to take away from the conversation because we are not just a part of it, but we are it. So, what do you think happens in the brain and nervous system when we spend time in natural environments?
Yes. When we spend time in natural environments, we feel like we're at home, really at
Mhm.
home. And it allows our body, our system to relax in a way that other things just don't. It's so much easier to walk on a beach with your feet in the sand and your body
Mhm.
just naturally relax and your nervous system resets versus trying to sit in a chair with a therapist and talk through all your problems. That's usually not very relaxing for most people, and you'd be
Mhm.
surprised how much changes when our nervous system relaxes and it just
Yes.
can regulate itself and we can process things better. It helps with how our brain processes joy and anxiety and all of these things when our stress responses are not haywire. So,
Mhm.
I believe a lot of research has actually shown that being around greenery or water or natural light can actually lower our stress hormones and
Mhm.
reduce the activity in the parts of our brain that are just where we worry and replay things over and over again, that feedback loop that a lot of people do that just kind of beats up on themselves. And I thought
Mhm.
that was really, really interesting to see because I know that I decided a long time ago I'm a beach girl. And I was like, I don't care where we go in the world, but I need a beach nearby that
Yeah.
I can get to in 30 minutes or so because that has always been the place for me that I can
Mhm.
just sit there and everything just washes away.
Yeah.
In Japan, I believe it is, they have the forest bathing. That just
Mhm.
sounds so amazing to me. If you love the trees, then do that. But yes, definitely being in nature also, of course, you have the sunlight if you're there in the daytime, but then the sounds of nature. I don't think a lot of people think about that. The rhythm that's in the sounds. If you hear the wind blowing through the trees or the ocean going in and out, birds chirping, like that also does something to our nervous system. And it just really is calming just on its
Yeah.
own.
Yeah. I mean, you just kind of touched on it because I was going to ask, like, why does something as simple as trees, water, or sunlight have such a powerful calming effect? I feel like I relate to that because I'm a beach girl too. I have to be near a beach, and so being where I am right now in the mountains, which is totally different because we don't have a beach near us, but we have a lake, so it's like
Mhm.
we get a little bit of water. But I love, like you said, the calming effects that the ocean has. And also with me being a real estate developer, and that's kind of where I put my health science and my engineer focus on is health. Be more aware of the materials that we're using, but also to be more conscious of the environmental state of where the home is and kind of incorporating that within the housing. So it's kind of like sustainable building, but a little bit more intense because we're kind of putting the outside inside and the inside is outside. And so we're kind of blending those worlds together. And I think that it does create a shift, not just in the mental state, but in the emotional state, even spiritual for some as well. And also, when you are a little bit more calm, I think that you can start to feel that you're a part of nature and also want to connect with it a little bit more, especially when there's a mutual benefit. If it's helping you and you helping it will keep the cycle going. So I think that it is a very calming, but also a unifying effect too. What about you? What do you think?
D Yeah, definitely. Very calming and unifying, and I remember having someone's house I went to where they had, like, the sunlights, and
Yeah.
I'm like, "Why don't we have that more often in houses
Hmm.
anymore where the sun can just pour in through the top?" Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we need more spaces in our home with sun
Hmm.
and light, and my mom was always really good at keeping plants in the house. I always joke that I don't have a green thumb to save my life, but I can obviously keep kids alive, so
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Yeah. That's a green thumb for sure.
We keep kids alive, not plants so much. But yeah, having those plants and things in our home also even just brings some of that calming effect into the house. Because, like you were saying, the environment does a lot for us, a lot for our sensory input. The sunlight really helps regulate our sleep and wake cycles.
Hmm.
And then the water and those natural sounds, that repeating pattern, like I was saying, really soothes our nervous system. And it just helps with sensory overload compared to, like you were saying, our indoor and urban environments, this concrete jungle, as we like to say. Not much jungle to it, but
Yeah, the
definitely a
concrete
lot of
isn't as
concrete.
great either.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
just, also just getting away from the blue light if we can. Changing your light bulbs in your house sometimes can help. If we can go back to what we had before, I think they were
Uh,
banning them. I don't know if they did ban them or not ban them in the
yeah.
US, but the incandescent lights and because it has more of a broader spectrum of light on it. Just so
Mhm.
much interesting things out there to look into and see how it helps your body because those signals can really make it easier for our body to shift out of stress and into relaxation if we're in a more natural setting.
Yes, for sure. I know I definitely have different lighting in my home as well. I do have a lot of LED lights as well, but they can shift on brightness, what type of light, what color light, so you can kind of change and adjust to what you need. I definitely prefer a lot of sunlight, so that's why I have a lot of windows. My home has so many windows, and I just love natural light indoors, but also outdoors too. So I have a lot of sky little balconies here and there so I can actually walk out and get some sun. Like you said, watch the sunrise and the sunset. I think that's very important for your biology as a human, but also for your mental state as well. And I am aware too um, that nature does operate in cycles. Okay, so the light and dark, and then the rest and activity, seasons of growth and restoration. So it's
Mhm.
always each side of a coin. So, how does ignoring these cycles really impact our health from your perspective?
Yeah. When you ignore the cycles, it's kind of like you're just deciding to push against again, push against the
Mm,
system, which is your body. It is
yeah.
nature. And that light and dark, activity and rest, like you were saying, we need that to focus, to recover. And when we
Hmm.
ignore them, those clear signals aren't coming through and it can't do what it's supposed to do. Like I like to think of reminding people a lot of our diets out there, a lot of the popular fad diets
Yeah.
tell you to stop eating, 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed. And a lot of people
Hmm.
don't think about, well, why is that? The reason
Hmm.
is because your body needs to digest all the food that it needs to digest and be done with that process so that when you go to
Hmm.
sleep, it can actually work on the process of restoration and recovery and replacing things and getting rid of the fat and things you don't need. And a lot of people don't think about that and they'll snack right up until bedtime,
Yeah.
snacking in bed for some of us.
Oh my
And so
gosh. Yeah.
that throws off your cycles of what your body needs to do. So your sleep
Hmm.
quality will suffer, your immune function, your mood, your stress tolerance. A lot of those things will be affected by not dealing with those cycles. And the most interesting one for me right now as a woman is how we're looking at the feminine cycle. And I know some people think it's great and other people are like, that's junk. But I
Mhm.
think that with most things, take it with a grain of salt. Don't go so far that, oh, I'm on my period, I can't move. I think that's
Yeah.
overboard, but definitely like looking at when are the times in your cycle as a woman, knowing that you go through, these 28 days of your hormones
Mhm.
changing. When are the
Mhm.
days or the weeks or the times in there where you're at your best? These are the times for you to
Yeah.
schedule those meetings and appointments where you have to be up in front of everybody and leading the room and showing off kind of.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
and those kind of things are part of our cycles as well that I don't think we talk enough about, especially in this society, because we just didn't know. I don't remember learning about it in school for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think that we do need to be a little bit more diligent in that area. I know for me, it took me up until I was 24 to really realize, like you said, the best of when I am on my cycle and also to kind of build my schedule around that. I think that was a huge difference when I did it because before especially when I have meetings with people, I would be either emotionally triggered or like break down crying in certain situations. Like, why are you crying? Like, oh, you're the wrong part of your cycle here. So I think
Mhm.
it is very important. And I know that you mentioned about the stimuli. We do have so much stimuli happening right now. And I think that it's important to kind of ask the question, what does it mean to be truly in the body instead of living in constant mental overdrive?
Yeah, that one's a really, I think it's kind of a personal thing where you have to find what that thing is for you that helps you to drop in, as they say, to
Hmm.
your body, where you really feel like you're in your body, not just in your headspace. So, noticing those physical sensations, maybe the breath or the internal cues, instead of just going off of thought all the time. When you're in your head all the time, your body becomes background noise and you're easily
Hmm.
ignoring it and putting it on the back burner where that
Mm,
awareness, like we were talking about earlier, usually helps you return to the body. And people
mhm,
often notice that they're clearer, their emotions are more regulated, they can make better decisions, and they have a stronger sense of presence when they can relax into their bodies and not just be in the head all the time.
yeah. Keyword relax into the body. I think for someone who feels disconnected or burnt out, what's one small way they can begin restoring that mind, body, nature connection?
Mm, well, my favorite one is, of course, the light because I keep talking about it. It's easy, it's cheap, it's free. Most of us have access to sunlight. So if you can start with the natural light, if you can find a way to get that morning sunlight in your eyes, at least sometime, depending on where you are in the world, usually before 10 a.m. at least, try to get some of that earlier. It has different, what do you call it? Can't think of the word right now, but different levels of rays to it earlier in the day. And then in the
Mhm,
afternoon, if somehow you can get out and take a walk, even just 5 or 10 minutes, that afternoon light has some different proponents to it that help you out. And then the
mhm,
sunset, of course. If you can get those into your day somehow, or at least one of those,
mhm.
it will make such a difference in how your body is connecting and responding to your environment. And then breathing, of course, you can do that anywhere,
Yeah,
anytime. If you're laying down, getting ready to go to bed, that's like an easy time to just really focus on your breathing and just slow everything down and take those deep breaths. I do a process where you breathe in, like she was saying, until you fill up, like until like the count of seven, and then kind of hold it for the count of seven, and then let it out for the count of seven. And that is just one of these things that is so changing for your nervous system. I remember the first time I truly meditated, Ashley, I was like, what is this feeling? Like the first time I
mm,
just really meditated and breathed, I was
mhm,
like, I was just in awe of how I felt because I had been under this low grade of stress like my entire life. Like I
mhm.
didn't know any other feeling. So if you
Yeah,
haven't done that, like take the time to really just process and breathe and drop into your body because it's amazing. It's life changing. So yeah, like I said, spending a little bit more time outside would be my first one. And then of course the breathing. It's simple. Anyone can do it. Doesn't cost any money. Just a little bit of time and awareness to think about doing it.
yeah. Those are great suggestions. I definitely agree with that and will apply those more into my life as well. In your full presentation at the January 1st Be Relieved event, what deeper understanding or experience will participants walk away with?
Oh, great. Yeah. We'll definitely go deeper into this understanding of how the environment and the rhythms and our nervous system is affected by our everyday affects our everyday health, sorry.
No
So a
problem.
lot of times we think of like our mental health as separate from our physical health when we are one body, we are one natural being. And once we get all of these different cues and awareness and things together, you can see how it all kind of lines up. So definitely we'll be connecting some of those things back to some research backed ideas and practical ways to notice what's supporting you or what's draining you.
For someone listening who feels like something is missing in their healing journey, why is reconnecting with nature and the body such a powerful starting point?
Well, because regulation has to come before change. So
Mhm.
a lot of times we try to do all of this bro science and biohacking. Like I said, the diet culture and all these things that we throw into our day to try and change how our body's responding. But when that nervous system is out of whack, it doesn't matter what we're doing to it as far as like what we're eating and how much we're exercising. It's like it can't really process it. I kind of think of it like if you had an orchestra conductor and the conductor's like all wacky and he's all out of sorts. It doesn't matter how good that trombonist is or the saxophonist is, it's going to
Mhm,
sound like crap until the
mhm,
conductor gets it together and then
mhm.
he can get everybody to play in harmony. So it's less about adding something new and more about fine tuning what's already there.
That is powerful. I really like how you put that together. I think that was a great analogy for that. Well, Kay Miller will be guiding us much deeper into this work at our free online event. It's called Be Relieved, A Fresh Start, Reconnecting Mind, Body, and Nature. And it's happening this January 31st at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for those who want extended access, deeper practices, and additional resources, our VIP tickets include extra time with our speakers and integration tools you won't receive in the general session. Okay, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and grounding presence with us today. It really was needed for me, and I'm sure for our listeners as well.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. For everyone listening, I just want you just to know that healing isn't just about fixing symptoms, it's about remembering how to live in rhythm with your body and the natural world. Okay. So join us live on January 31st at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our Be Relieved, a fresh start reconnecting mind, body, and nature. Make sure you guys register for the free event and explore our VIP access. I'm going to put the link in the description. And until next time, just remember that your body remembers nature, even when your mind has forgotten. All right. So until next time, be relieved.